Welcome to Ashes and Iron. Just in case you missed the intro, I've been a truck driver for over a decade. But I figured I'd start us off with our first video about how I became a truck driver. I used to work at a place called Holland. Now, Holland was owned by Yellow, and they started a driver program, a dock to driver program. And my brother, who had been working there for already, 10 years, I think, he caught wind of that program and said, hey, if you come down here and work the loading dock for 6 months, then you can join the dock to driver program. And that's what I did. I came down, and the only way you could apply as a dock worker was as a temporary, or what they called a casual. So I worked that for 6 months. And then I signed up to the program. And the program really didn't exist yet. They had the concept of it, but they didn't really have the details laid out. So what I did first is I went to the DMV and I got myself my CDL temp license, right? Like my learner's permit. And our terminal manager at the time allowed me to practice in the yard with their equipment, okay? And that's what I did. I practiced in the yard on the weekends when nobody else was around, and I learned how to operate a truck right there in the yard. Now, the people that helped me was, for one, my brother. He would dedicate his weekends to coming out and showing me how to drive the truck. I learned how to shift, how to back up, how to do button hooks, how to blindside back, how to jackknife back, how to angle back, how to straight back, how to double clutch going forward. Eventually, I learned how to float the gears, but that was much later. Well, anyway, eventually, the company allowed me to use one of their trucks to take the CDL exam. And I passed it. First time. And the exam was weird because they had me do one thing that I had never done in training, which was strange. They had me pull into a dock and then pull out of that dock and go to the dock directly next to it without realigning my truck. So that's what I did for my backing test. Plus, I did a full 90-degree backing, and I had to stop at a certain point and everything else. I only got 1 point off on my exam, and that is because I was skip shifting, where you skip the lower gears and just let it rip into the higher gears. And yeah, the examiner said, yes, I understand you can drive like that, but I don't want to see you driving like that. So yeah, I got a point off for that. Beyond that, I passed my test with flying colors, all thanks to my brother and a few other guys who helped me out. You know, there wasn't really any classroom time or anything like that. I didn't have any experience running a logbook. I was taught that stuff from, guys just sitting in the break room, or I'd watch over somebody's shoulder while they filled out their logbook. It wasn't anything crazy, but I learned. And you know what? I'm glad that I learned the way that I did instead of going to some CDL school, because I was taught by actual drivers, guys that are out there. I was taught with, trucks moving around sometimes in the yard. There was obstacles. There was, you know, tighter docks and things like that, instead of just cones out in the middle of nowhere, you know, um, which is normally how you learn. But my very first trip, my very first time solo in a semi truck, well, that was in a Sterling semi truck, which, if you know anything about semis, basically that's a Ford. And it was a 7-speed day cab truck. My very first time out. And mid trip, the wipers weren't working too good. And for some reason or another, I lost my trailer lights in the rain. So I panicked and I pulled over. And when I pulled over onto some gravel that had been freshly laid, which means it wasn't compacted or anything like that. So when I pulled over onto it, and the fact that it was raining kind of turned that stuff into soup. And yeah, my very first trip out, I got a semi truck stuck in soupy, wet gravel. But I finished out my run eventually after a tow truck just gave me a little yank out of there. We fixed the trailer lights and away we went. But yeah, that was the beginning of my trucking experience. Nothing too crazy, I don't think, but I've learned a lot along the way. Now I've been driving for 11 years, almost 12. And, I constantly am learning from other drivers. And if I'm not asking them what they're doing, I'm watching what they're doing. Okay. So that I can see it and visualize it. Now, if you yourself are looking to get your CDL, I'm going to tell you a little secret that I did to help visualize how to back up properly. I went out to Goodwill and I found there a semi truck toy. Okay, had a little truck and a little trailer. And what I did is I got a big piece of paper and I drew like dock lines so that I could figure out which way does the truck have to turn to accomplish where I want that trailer to go. So I could visualize it in 3D without damaging anything. I could take the little toy and figure out, okay, if I turn the wheel this way, the trailer goes this way. If I turn the wheel that way, the trailer goes that way. And that helped me out a lot on how to visualize it. Plus, if you're looking from above, you can actually see what's happening with the trailer itself. Even better than you can, in the cab or outside. From above, you can see that the nose of the trailer will go, when you're getting in close to the dock, you'll understand that the nose of that trailer has to be perfectly in line with the back and in line with the dock. Otherwise, when you back up to the dock, while it only looks like a 2-inch gap, let's say, so you back up to the dock and there's those 2 black bumpers, right? And let's say that your driver's side is tight up against that black bumper, but your passenger side is 2 inches away from it. It doesn't look like much, but by the time you make it to the front of that trailer, you're off by over a foot. And that foot could be the reason why somebody else can't back into their spot, because the nose of your trailer is too far out. So I learned things like that. Trucking itself is a joy. It really is. But there's a lot of finesse, a lot of fine tuning, and a lot of skill involved in backing it up. Any moron nowadays, especially with the automatics, any moron can drive a semi-truck forward. Anybody. If you've ever driven a car, you can drive it forward. But the first time you have to take a turn, that's when you learn whether or not you actually know how to drive. And then get to some of these loading docks that were designed originally for a 48-foot trailer, and now you're pulling a 53-foot trailer with a sleeper cab. It is not easy, but you can do it. You just have to remember your angles, remember your setup, and practice. If you're learning at first, practice, practice, practice. Anytime you have downtime and access to a truck and trailer, practice. Because I'm telling you, that practice is going to come in handy. Whether you think so right now or not, it will. I promise you. But I think that's it for now. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them below, and I will try to read through them. Thank you.